as we get into the class, but really the theme for today is more about transitions from one pose to the next. And so having our alignment, and we're going to move slowly, really slowly, from like one posture to the next. Okay, and the idea is that, you know, that's where injuries occur. So you want to be able to have your alignment. That's where your stability and strength comes in. And a lot of times we just use momentum and we just sort of muscle our way into something. So today's class is more about transitions. So just have an open mind. Let's start at the front of our mat, standing. You can face them. Okay. And then just feet hip distance apart. Okay, ground your hips as you ground your heels. Okay, bring your arms by your side. Bring your shoulder blades into your spine. Open your chest. Tilt your chin just an inch or half an inch towards your chest. That pulls your belly button in. Now your core is activated. Bring the crown of your head and sort of elongate it towards the ceiling. And then just begin to breathe. Good. And now begin to elongate your breath. Giving yourself about 3 to 4 seconds to inhale and about 3 to 4 seconds to exhale. I'd like you to focus on what that feels like, what that rhythm is. It's rather slow. Work towards that slow breathing rhythm, and that's the rhythm that we're going to use as we move through our transitions. I'd like you to imagine that we spend most of our time worried about where we're going to get to or where we've been. Maybe we should just focus more on that transition, that journey. The space in between. Maybe that's where the magic is. Maybe that's where the possibilities are. Maybe we get stuck by looking at the destination or where we've been. So maybe as you're doing this practice, maybe think about how maybe something this week or something that's been on your mind has been focused more on the destination versus just letting go and just letting the space in between flourish. With your next inhale, with your breath, slow breath, reach up towards the ceiling. Bring your hands together, spark your fingers, open your fingertips, everything's open. Wiggle your toes, reach up towards the ceiling. And really feel that elongation on your spine. Paying attention to what your pelvis is doing. Opening your chest. And then inhale, reach one more time, up, 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 up. Exhale, tilt towards the right. You're like in a standing banana pose towards the right. Good. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, slow breath to the left. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Keeping that back neutral. So don't round off your back. If you need to soften your knees, big bend in the knees if you need it. And just nice fold forward. Walk it out, just straightening your leg, one leg, going back and forth, alternating with the next. Good. And then bring both hands either to a block, okay, if it's hard for you to fold forward, okay, or to the mat. And then let your chest rest on your thighs. Okay, so you're almost seated, okay, so your chest is resting on your thighs. And then roll up from your hips. So you're gonna push up from your legs. So you can roll up. So you round it off in your back, but you're gonna push off. And then as you rise up, shrug those shoulders up towards your ears, and then bring those shoulders down. You're going to inhale your arms up towards the ceiling. Nice length. Another fold forward. We're going to bend our knees a bit. We're going to put our hands on our shins, and we're going to do a halfway lift, bringing the crown of your head towards the front, keeping that back flat. That looks great, Chris. Both Chris's. And then fold forward. Rise up one more time to mountain. Rising slowly with your breath. And fold forward. Halfway lift. And then bring your hands in front of you and go into a plank or a modified plank. And so you can either drop your knees, okay, and then drop all the way down, like your hips down. The hips are going to drop down. Everyone just drop down. So you're resting now on the mat, and your hands are shoulder height, okay? So we're not going to be doing push-ups right now. We're going to rise up to a cobra, and a cobra is like a half up dog, okay? For those that want more, you can tuck your toes and then come up into an up dog where your thighs come off the floor and you're on the tops of your feet. Okay, so come back down to the mat. So find which one is going to work for you, because this is our first transition. And what we're going to work on is the transition from up dog or cobra into downward dog. Okay, and we're going to do that slowly. Okay, so again, we're focused on the transition. We're not focused on getting to downward dog. I know you guys can do that. So if you're in cobra, you would rise up to cobra. Okay, and then you tuck your toes, and then you bring your hips up, push your arms up, come onto your knees, and then shift into downward facing dog. So that's a modified version. If you're an up dog, then you're just going up dog, and then come back down. Everybody just come back down into your up dog or cobra position. Okay, good. So Lana, that's great, okay? So rest back down, come down and rest, okay? And so I want everyone to sort of think about, like, everyone's in their own body, so everyone knows how that feels. And so we're gonna imagine is that Christy's here, and I'm gonna imagine that there's a string that's on her sacrum, and I'm gonna pull that string up, and that's how she's gonna come up into downward dog. So she's gonna now go from cobra to her knees, coming up dog, and then she's gonna tuck back, and then she just comes all the way back, and her back is nice and flat and neutral. Okay, so let's do that 3 times with your own breath, focused on the transition, just the transition. Everyone has their elbows tucked in, which is good, okay? And then with your breath, so as you wanna work with your breath, take an inhale, and then as you exhale, you come up. Well, you guys are great. Good. Fantastic, and do that one more time, come forward, resting all the way down, working with your breath. And then shift back up into downward dog. Good. Walk out your dog. And then walk your hands back towards your feet. So now you're going to be standing the back of your mat. And then roll up. Fantastic. Then what I'd like you to do, we'll start on the right side. We're going to work on our next transition. And our next transition is going to be the warrior 1 to warrior 3. Okay, we're going to go slow here, guys. So step your right foot forward and then pivot your back foot to 45 degrees. And so you're in warrior 1. Okay, your hips are square to the front. Oh, great, you guys look fantastic. Okay, now the transition we're gonna work on here, so what I want everyone to do is feel sort of strong in their base, and everyone looks very good, okay? And the transition we're gonna work on is we're gonna move to warrior 3, okay? But we're not muscling our way through. We're enjoying the transition through a really 3-second type of breath, okay? So Christy will show us, so she's So she pivoted her back foot back into a crescent, and she moved into a warrior three. That's good. So Nicole, that's great, because you were just like pivoting forward and you weren't pushing forward. So that's good. So what I'd like you to do is everyone go into warrior one, and this is what we're gonna do. Just look at Christy if you could. She's in warrior one, okay. And then she's gonna pivot her weight forward. Okay, she's got a lot of weight forward. Now, she's not gonna step back. And then I knocked her over. So you want to basically, you're just pivoting forward, not pushing forward as much as you can. So come back to warrior one. And so with her weight of her torso, as it leans forward, just lean forward, one straight line. Okay, now let your weight lift your leg up. No, don't push up. She's pushing up a little bit. You want to try not to, try to get to the point where there is this desire to have some momentum. You're in your warrior one, okay? And then you're coming forward. Really, as you're reaching forward, your back leg doesn't push off. You don't need to push off. And then you come, so you're really smooth. So we're really trying to be almost as if we're doing real quiet. So we're not gonna hear any legs or feet hitting the floor or the mat. You're really quiet. So you're in your warrior one, okay? And I'm reaching forward, and I'm just reaching forward, and my back leg is coming up. So there's no pushing off. So you're just like pivoting up, okay? Sort of like that. So that's what we're gonna work on, okay? So back in warrior one, reach forward, and you'll realize you're nice and long. You keep reaching forward. Good. See, Christy just lifted her leg, whereas before she was actually pushing off. Okay, so let's do that 2 more times with your breath.
Very hard.
Yeah, it seems hard, but that's why transitions are good. They give you stability, right? So this is stability. So leaning forward. Good. So very different this time that Christy did this in the first time, because she just pivoted forward. Good. One more time. Good, and then stepping it back slowly. Good, and stepping your foot back. Find yourself back in your mountain. Back edge of the mat. Reach. Inhale forward. Forward fold. Good. And then rise up. Okay. Hopefully that felt pretty good. Okay.
That was hard. That was actually hard.
Okay. Rise up and reach. Step the left. We got the other side. So step the left leg forward. Okay. And then same thing, shifting your torso and your weight forward. And lifting that leg. Perfect. And then slowly coming back, okay? So we're gonna do that 3 times on that side. And find your base. So when you're in warrior one, just find your base. Take a couple breaths in that when you're in your first warrior one. So you feel strong, that's your base, and then you move slowly with your breath. So you pushed off that way. So that Christy pushed off on that time. So I'm trying to get her not to push off. So not to push off, she has to lean her weight forward, and she's gonna naturally come up. And then she's gonna come back down. And take one more, then we'll meet at the front. And then come back down. I'd like everyone to be in warrior one. I just want to see how everybody looks. In a lot of vinyasas, we move from warrior one straight to warrior two. depending on the sequence and practice that you're doing. So let me see how everyone looks moving your warrior one on the left. I just want to see how you open up to warrior two. Is everyone in warrior two? Good. It looks like everyone's back feet nice and parallel to the mat. Good. You guys look really good. Okay. And then come back to warrior one. Okay, we're on the left side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move. Before we do this, actually, can everybody bring a block or 2 blocks to the front of their mat? Okay, we're going to move from, we're on the left side, so we'll still, we're at the left side, then we'll go back to the right. So a block should be in the front. And we're going to start off stepping our left leg forward into our warrior one. And then we're going to open up to warrior two. Okay, so the transition, so in warrior two, everything is facing the side. So our gaze is forward. So I want to pull our hips forward, but really your hips are all squared to the side. Your knee wants to come inward. We want to keep that knee outward. Okay, and what we're gonna do is the same thing here that we did with warrior one going to warrior three, but we're gonna move into a half moon. Okay, so if you need to modify, you could bring a block right next to your foot. So you have a block next to your foot. Okay, so we're in warrior two. And we're going to start pivoting slowly. I like using a block. Don't, elongate the block, put it as long as it is so you have a lot of support. Okay, and then we're trying not to push off. We're trying not to do that. So the only way to do that, folks, is to bring your foot in a little bit. You're going to have to bring the back foot in a little bit. Otherwise, our weight is like towards the back because of our arms. So coming in, you're going to bring this back foot in just a little bit and then come up to your half moon, okay? So work with your breath. So we're in warrior two. Pivot down. Right arm is up. Bring that right foot in just a little bit and then pivot up into your half moon. And ideally, your gaze would be towards your hand and you'd lift your legs and then you'd flex your feet. And then you'd come back slowly. And I'm stepping in. I'm going just exactly backwards the way I came in. So you can make some minor adjustments. So let's work with 2 more breaths. Going slow. And that leg's getting tired a little bit. At least mine is. Okay, and our model is back. Okay, and then everybody find yourself back in your warrior two. Yeah, no, yeah, you're left forward. Good. And then go ahead and windmill your hands forward. Has Christy done this? Where you windmill forward from warrior two, down, step back into a downward dog. Step back into a downward dog. And so we're back in downward dog. Walk those hands back towards your feet. Nice bend in the knees, rise up to a mountain. Nice stretch, reach up. Fold forward, we'll do the other leg. Rise up, step forward with the right foot. Take a warrior one, opening up to warrior two. Good. And then from your warrior two, I'm putting a block in front of Christy's foot. She's going to slowly pivot. Now bring your back foot in just a little, pivot your weight. So pivot down like this. Walk that foot just forward a little bit. And then now you can just lift up. And then she's gonna bring her back foot back. Not all the way back, just back slowly. And we adjust to warrior two. Okay. And gazes forward. And then do that 2 more breaths. Working on the transition, warrior two to half moon. And so in order not to give yourself that hop that you need to do, you need to bring your leg in, your torso forward, and then try to sort of pivot, just like we did with the warrior three, and then come back down. One more time. Ava's having a tough time. And then come back. Good. You're in warrior two. Everybody should be in warrior two. Windmill the hands down. You can be in plank and then just shift to downward dog, or just go shift back into downward dog. So we're in downward dog. Okay. Everybody take a couple breaths here in downward dog, and then come down to the mat. And if you need to be on a block, find your child's pose. Good. And then reach forward with your fingertips towards your mat. Let the weight, let gravity do the work on your hips. Bring your forehead to the mat or onto a block. Good. And again, catching your breath and then finding that sort of rhythm. 3, maybe 2, maybe 4-second breaths. Find that rhythm that you can use with your transitions. Our next transition is going to be a slow transition. This will probably be the hardest one because it's going to be, we're going to be moving from downward dog to a crescent. And I'll have Christy show this. So everybody lift your hips up towards the ceiling, find yourself in your downward dog. Great, okay. Now, you may want to watch Christy on this one, okay? So I really want everyone to go really slow because we're going to try to actually, again, not use momentum, but we're going to step into a crescent from downward dog. So Christy's going to extend her right leg up, 3-legged dog, okay? And then she's going to bring her knee to her nose, round off her back, bring that knee to, and then she's going to try to gently plant that foot next to her hand. That is all we're going to do. But just if you could do that, that's great. So you're like in a low lunge, you're like about to take off running. So that's what I want everyone to practice, slowly with your breath. It's a slow transition. If you need to, you could bring a block to bring height to your, as you step forward. So that would actually make it easier for you to step forward. So Christy's got a block, okay? And that's giving her height. And now she's going to step her knee forward and she's able to step. Okay, so find yourself in your downward dog, tucking that knee. And that's one of the exercises we do for your core. When we do some of these, do more of a strength or boot camp, we do knee to nose from downward dog. And the purpose of that is actually to give you strength so you can actually go into this transition properly. So work with your breath, going slowly. You inhale that leg up, bringing that leg up, and then you exhale, you round off, really round off, stepping it forward, and then just either coming up just a little bit, and that's it. Okay, so practice that 3 times on that side. Good. Good, Nicole. That was great. Good, Teresa. You guys got good 3-legged dogs. That's great. Christine, good. It's good, Chris. It's good that you're using your block. I see that you, yeah, so I think as much height as you can have, Chris, in front of you, if you had like an ottoman, or if you had like a little stool, that would help, because that would give you height a little bit more than a block, and then you could step forward. And so then, so that's a little hard for Chris. So if you're here and you can't bring it up here, I would probably shorten your dog, Chris, okay? And then just step, and that's it, you know? So if you shorten your dog, that would help. Let's practice one more, okay? And then we're going slowly with our breath, really slow. Okay, Chrissy's gonna show us how she's doing with the shorter dog in the block. And she stepped it forward. Good, okay? And then everyone find yourself in your downward dog. Walk out your dog, couple breaths. And then we get to do the other side. Okay. Okay, how are you guys doing? It's so quiet in there. I can't even hear you guys breathe. Okay, inhale the left leg up. And then a nice quiet. You want to be as quiet as you can, as if you're trying to
turn my mic on so you can hear me curse at you?
Hey, there we go. There's life. Okay, yes. We all need that, Chris. You bring in like vigor for us, okay? Okay. So I want to hear noise. I want to hear breathing, but I want everyone to do this as quietly as possible. It reminds me of I took a running clinic from a Tai Chi master who was teaching how to do low impact running, and he had me running in the sand to make a small imprint. So just imagine you're just trying to do this on the sand, and you're just doing it really gently and quietly. So work slowly with your breath. So you really it'd be good to hear your breath, because you're actually moving slow enough where you should be able to enjoy sort of a deep breath. That's the whole point. And then do that one more time, and let's find ourselves back in our downward dog. So when you're ready, we're in downward dog. You're going to walk your hands again back toward the back end of your mat. Grab big bend in the knees, grab your toes with your peace finger, and just fold forward. And then slowly roll yourself back up. Your feet are hip distance apart. Inhale those arms up towards the ceiling. And bring your hands to heart center. Next transition is a balance transition, okay? And we're gonna just move from tree, okay? So you can just do a kickstand tree or a tree. From tree, we're gonna move from tree. And then once we're in tree and grounded in tree, and we feel good, we're gonna move, well, I'll take votes. You guys wanna move into, I originally was gonna do airplane, but Christy said that was gonna be too hard. You want to do airplane, or do you want to move into standing leg raise? Standing leg raise is a lot easier because we're already facing forward. We just bring our leg in and just raise our knee or straighten our leg out. So which one do you guys want to do?
Second one.
Not airplane? So this is our tree, and then we would be transitioning into airplane like this, or we do the standing leg raise.
Airplane.
Airplane, you guys want to be adventurous and go into airplane?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I think I'm hearing. I'm not sure I'm hearing that. Okay, so again, feet hip distance apart.
That's a negative here.
Positive here.
What did you say? Okay, inhale, arms up, reach, 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 back into heart center. Okay, we're gonna go slowly, okay? Again, this is a challenge. So you're gonna wobble, you're gonna fall. That's fine, okay? This is meant to be more about the transition, not getting into the pose. It's how does it feel when I go really slow and I'm moving into transition. So one transition is we're bringing the leg up into tree. And we did that. Okay. And here we are, we're stable, trying to be stable, maybe a little wobbly, bringing our hands down. So you're going really slow. Shifting our torso forward as we bring our leg back. Maybe a little micro bend in the left leg. Squaring the hips. Lifting the legs, flexing the back foot. Bring your gaze down, making your neck neutral, lifting your chest, pressing your shoulder blades against the spine, and then bringing that leg back down. That was good. So that was one, and we just did it really slowly. So it was all about sort of flowing. Again, inhaling up, hands to heart center. Finding your focus, your drishti, and then floating your leg up. You're in tree or kickstand tree. Bringing your hands down and working with your breath. Kicking back, shifting your weight forward. And lifting that leg. And then coming back down. So we're going nice and slow. Catching your breath, closing your eyes. Inhaling the arms up. Exhale, bringing the hands down. You're in heart center. Your mind is open. You float your right foot up into your left inner thigh. You take a small breath, and then you slowly move, bring your arms down, hands down, palms facing towards the floor, extending those fingertips. All your fingers are wide open, they're awake. You're flexing back, lifting your leg, flexing your back foot, lifting, and then coming back down. Super. We'll have the opportunity to do that again on the other side. Inhaling, hands up. Reaching, reach. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Let it all out. Inhale, float that foot up into the left inner thigh, your left foot onto the right inner thigh. You're in tree on the left. And then you slowly bring your hands down. Your gaze is forward. Extend your left leg back. Flex the back leg. Lift. And then slowly come back up. Ground your feet. You're back in mountain. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, float the left foot for tree on the left again. Open your hips, square your hips, drop your hands. And then move slowly into your airplane. Lifting your leg, flexing that back foot. And then slowly coming back up the mountain. Super. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, forward fold. And walk it out in your forward fold. Bring your feet hip distance apart while you're folded, and opposite hand, opposite elbow, and take a ragdoll as you sort of swing back and forth. Okay, guys. The next one is more of a move that I think about when I think about my patients, and I think about Izzy's workshop that she had. So everybody slowly rise up to mountain, okay? And this one's gonna it's gonna depend on sort of ankle flexibility and strength, but we're gonna work on another transition. This is a transition we might do sometimes when we are rolled up in a little ball, and we go, okay, roll back and forth 3 times, and then roll up to your feet, and then you might rise up, let's say to mountain or something. So this transition is a transition that I think is important for everyday life. What I'm gonna ask you to do, not everyone has to do this, but I'd ask you to put a block behind you, okay, as if you're gonna sit down on it, okay? So everyone should have a block or something behind them, or it could be a chair. It could be a chair, okay? Now the transition we're gonna do, and I'm gonna show you what the full thing is. We're not gonna do like a malasana squat. So your feet are hip distance apart, your toes are a little bit out. So basically a nice grounded mountain pose, okay? And then we're gonna put our hands in heart center, and the transition we're gonna do is we're gonna inhale our crown of our head up, and then we're gonna just transition down. Okay, so I fortunately have that ankle flexibility and the strength, and then I just inhale back up. That's simple transition. So for some of us, that's going to be difficult. So if you have a block, then I could inhale up, exhale, hands to the heart center, and then come down and I'm on a block. So basically I'm sitting on the block, okay? And then we're gonna inhale up, okay? So that's basically a squat to stand, okay? It's not a wide-legged squat, okay? It's basically a neutral position squat. So we should all have hopefully a block behind us. Okay, good. Oh, good, Alana, that's great. Okay, so we're gonna do that 3 times with our breath, hands to heart center. Inhale them up. Exhale, hands to heart center as we descend. And I'm in my block. We're just moving slowly. Inhale up and reach. Reaching with our fingertips. Exhale, hands to heart center. Descending all the way as we exhale. Coming down to our block.
There's no way. I can't do that.
Is that okay? Well, so see, so that's good. That's good. It's so the purpose is not to do it. It's the purpose is to work on the transition
I can't
to
do
get there.
that.
So that's the opportunity you have is if you have a chair or if you have something to give your block a height. So you can do it. You just have to start from here. You just have to go, okay, I'm here, and then I rise. So maybe you don't go all the way down. You just come down to where you can, and then you rise up. Okay, and you will slowly get that flexibility to do that. And the reason that's important is because actually the way we should be picking things up is not like this. The way we should be picking things up is like this, and then we rise up. Now, I always get tickled because I had an 84-year-old patient that had surgery and for her heart, and she actually, that's exactly what she did. She just went down like this, picked something up and doing like that. I was like, wow, it's pretty good. So that's again looking at the alignment. So that's what we need to work on. So if you can only come down to here and rise up, and that's your activity. That's what you do. You can come all the way down. That's great. So I'd like everyone to do that slowly, 2 more times with their breath. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And descending, taking a breath, pause. Inhaling up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Coming down. One more inhale up. Good. And fold forward, everybody. Good. That was probably the harder one of everything that we were going to do today. Okay. The rest of the stuff, there's only one that's going to be a little bit more work, but it's going to be okay. We get to be on the mat. So everybody can now just squat down and then find yourself on your back on the mat. Okay. Bring your knees towards your chest. And then just rock back and forth. Good. Grab your toes with your peace finger. And then open up for a happy baby. We're pretty much done with the little transitions that I just wanted to invite you to think about when you do a vinyasa or a practice. To go slower, work with your breath. Enjoy the time in between the poses and not worry about the pose itself as much sometimes. And then bring your knees together. Bring those feet onto the mat. Bring the soles of your feet to touch. Open your knees wide. You're in a Supta Baddha Konasana. One hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. And just enjoying the transition of just breathing and the effect it has on your heart rate, on your belly moving up and down. bring your knees together. Okay, and so again, the reason I was practicing that squat to stand is because I was thinking about this next transition. Okay, you're gonna grab the backs of your legs behind your knees with your hands. Okay, and you're just gonna rock back and forth. Nice massage on your back, and then you can sort of exaggerate that a little bit. And then sort of find yourself in a squatted position. Is that something we can all do? And you want to do that sort of gracefully and slowly. So
Squat.
let the momentum will work, but you're still going slow. It's sort of a fun thing to do. And then I tuck my feet and I just come forward. And then we're just in a malasana squat. Okay. Now, the next transition is the only, I guess I shouldn't have said that the other one was the hardest, because this one's going to be one we're going to practice. It won't be that hard. Bring your hands to the mat and then step back into a plank or modified plank. So I'm in modified plank. Modified plank, my knees are back. So you're not in tabletop. Knees are back. And this is fine if you want to stay here. Okay. If we want to keep this easy, we're going to work on the transition between plank and side plank. Okay. For those that are doing full expression, you're in plank, and your heels are stacked, your shoulders are stacked over your wrists, you're pulling your belly button in, and you're pushing the mat away, and you have a little bit of a curvature on your back. And those of us that have our knees down, our knees can be down. And then we're just going to open up. Remember, this is about the transition. So I'm on my knees. I'm going to bring my left hand to the center. I'm going to move it to the center underneath my nose. Okay. And then I can just pivot my knees and open up into a side plank. And that's my side plank. I can maybe lift that front leg if I wanted to for a little bit of stability. Okay, and then I'm going to come back down and I'm going to come back to plank. Okay. If you're in full expression, you're tilted forward, you're bringing your hand in, and then you're going slow. I'm going really slow and I'm reaching up. And then you can do all kinds of variations when you're up here. So that's what we're going to work on. We're just going to take 3 breaths on each side. So everyone find yourself in your plank. And again, we're working slow with our breath and our form. Hand goes in the center. Exhale, then I inhale my hand up. Exhale, coming back down. And reposition my hand. Bring my left hand back to the center, then pivot and reach up. And bringing my head, my gaze is up towards my thumb, and then coming back down. Bringing that left hand back outward. I'm back in my plank. One more time, bringing that hand to the center, inhaling up. Exhale, coming back down. Shifting back for our child's pose before we move to the other side. And then shifting forward into your plank or your modified plank. Bringing the right hand into the center of the mat. And then pivoting your hips and opening up. Lifting your hips up towards the ceiling, even if you're modified. And then coming back down to neutral. Bringing that right hand outward. Your back in your plank or modified plank. Bringing your right hand to the center. Slowly reaching up. Exhale, coming back down. One more time, bringing the right hand back to the center, pivoting our hips, and reaching up, gazes up. Your arms and your shoulders are all stacked. And then we come back down. Shift back once more time to your child's pose. Swaying your hips back and forth, reaching your fingertips forward.
And then slowly, like pretending like your fingers are little spiders, walking those fingers to the right. And then slowly walking them back to center. And then slowly walking them to the left. Walking them back to center. And then bring your hands inward like about 6 inches, and then just lift. And then take your right hand and thread it underneath the left armpit and bring your right cheek to the mat. And just let gravity do the work. And then come back to neutral and then do the other side. And then come back to neutral. Shift your weight back into tabletop. And in tabletop, find yourself neutral, pull your belly button in, push the mat away, round off your back just a little bit. And then inhale, look up, hips up. Exhale, round off. Chin to chest, really exaggerate. Inhale up, look up. Exhale, round off. One more inhale up. And exhale, round off. Bring your, position your knees maybe a little bit wider than the tabletops, so just like maybe half an inch. You're just gonna move your knees half an inch out and then shift your weight back. And so you're like in a hero's pose. Have you guys done this before? So you can be, have you done the hero's pose? So you can put, is this a hard thing to do? You can put a block underneath. So Marco, that's good. Michaela, that's good. See, everyone looks, this is not too much of a problem. Okay, great. Okay. So, so we can do a couple things here, okay? See, I don't know how everyone feels in terms of how comfortable they feel. So you can either be resting on the block or you're just resting on the floor, okay? And then you can slowly just work, I always get a little cramp in my foot when I do this, but I don't know why. So you can have one leg out, okay? And so you could be like this, okay? And then you can just sort of walk back for a nice little stretch, okay? Or if you can bring both legs back, you're seated. You got to press your shoulder blades into your spine, open your chest, and then you sort of slowly, walk back either onto your shoulders or onto your forearms, or you can come all the way down if you could. So it's sort of what you feel like you can do. Have you guys done this before?
No.
So it's just working. It's really flexibility on your quads, your ankles. I mean, really, it's a lot of flexibility. So I'm just having you guys explore right now to see what feels comfortable. This is a little bit of a strain on my ankles. So I think if I had a block, this might feel better. And then I'm just going back just a little bit and then raising my hips and then bringing my shoulder blades back. Okay. So I have the block under my hips and that feels good. And when I take the block off, I can definitely feel that in my ankles. So it's not that you can't do it, it's that you need to sort of know when your body tells you to stop, and then you got to work towards that flexibility. So we're just trying to feel what feels good and what doesn't feel good and what are the boundaries for each of us.
I usually do that in full gear.
What's that?
I said I usually do that in my full gear.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, so everybody then find yourself back in your hero's pose. I'm on a block. Okay.
And then we're just going to rise up onto our knees. We're going to bring our hands behind our hips. Okay, and there's a tendency to tighten up here because this feels, and this posture, I guess, can feel a little bit unsafe. Because I noticed that you feel it's this tendency to tense up. But what you really want to do is relax your hips and your lower back. So you want to let it sort of relax. So a little bit opposite when I have you get into a mountain pose, I'm having you engage your pelvis, pull your belly button in, and you're sort of tilting that pelvis back a little bit. In this case, we're doing this the opposite. We're relaxing our pelvis. Our hands are behind our hips, and then we're going to move our pelvis forward and then bring our gaze up. So this is that camel pose, okay? And then like full expression would be to grab your heels and then open up. So that would be like a full expression. And then this, and again, there's that tendency, I can tell, there's that tendency to tighten up your hips. So you have that's why your hands are nice because they're supporting you. And then you just make small movements, thrust your pelvis forward, open your chest, and then come back up to neutral. So everyone just try doing that, see how that feels. Don't put a strain on your lower back though, okay? So you do what feels good. You may just stay right here and then just support your lower back. And then just open your throat, open your neck, and extend your neck, gazes up. Good. And then come back to neutral. And then hands on the mat, swing your legs to the side, okay? And then bring your legs in front of you. You're in a staff pose. In the staff pose, I really like to focus on bringing my legs into their sockets. So I actually do this in classes. I'll actually like tuck my leg in as I'm like elongating. Okay. So I feel like, okay, good. My legs are in their socket. I'm holding the back of my knees. I'm straight. Feet are flexed. Toes are flexed. Inhale, hands up. Okay, now you can soften your knees just a little bit and then fold forward, keeping your back and the integrity in your back, keeping it flat, and just reach. How are we doing? Everyone's doing good. Okay, so if you need to put a bend in your knees or put a block under your knees, this is what I'm doing here. And you'll slowly, this is something, of course, we're doing this practice today on Saturday, but this is something maybe you can do tonight, maybe you can do tomorrow. And your flexibility will improve. So I always find myself back in my neutral position, tuck in my femurs into their sockets, flex my feet, inhale my hands, soften my knees, and reach forward. And then bend forward. Good, come back, rise back up. Everybody bring your right leg to the inner left thigh. So your right knee is now, and your right leg is now flexed. Your foot, the sole of your right foot is against the thigh of your right leg, and your knees just hanging over. Inhale up and reach forward. And come back up. Extend the right leg, bring the left leg in. And then fold forward towards the right. And then rise back up. Then bring your right leg to meet your left. You're in just an easy pose. So you're in a seated easy pose. Eyes are closed. Bring your hands to heart center. Offer yourself the opportunity to realize that there are times maybe when you should focus more on your space in between your destination. And I'll actually leave you with a quote from Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So it's the idea of changing and that movement and that process towards that change, or maybe the spice of our life really lies. So I hope this practice opened your eyes to some possibilities. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.
Okay.